In Africa, there's a special plant root that's been used for centuries in spiritual and healing rituals. Now this new healing technology is starting to pop up in the United States, showing success rates as high as 90% in treating addictions to heroin, cocaine, alcohol, and other substances. Here's what Joe Rogan has to say about it.
Did anybody ever recommend Ibogaine to you?
No, I've heard of that though.
So they're doing that now in Texas. The Ibogaine initiative passed through thanks to former Governor Rick Perry, Republican,
Wow.
who,
Wow.
through working with veterans, found that a lot of veterans who struggle with addiction and PTSD,
Yeah.
that Ibogaine is incredibly effective.
Wow.
And it's not a recreational drug. It's not fun.
No.
But it's a psychedelic that
Yeah.
takes 24 hours, and it's apparently like brutally introspective, but literally corrects addictive pathways, like whatever the connection is in the brain that causes you to be addicted to things.
Yeah.
It can disrupt those in a very bizarre and unique way. And it's something like 80+% effective with one dose of getting people to stay off of narcotics, cigarettes,
shit.
alcohol. And I think with 2 doses, it's in the 90s. So if you do 2 different Ibogaine ceremonies,
Deep in the rainforests of Central Africa grows a small shrub called Tabernanthe iboga. For centuries, its bitter root bark has been used for spiritual ceremonies. Consumed in high doses, it brings visions, confrontations with the self, and, believers say, a doorway to the spirit world. In the 1960s, a young heroin addict named Howard Lotsoff took Ibogaine, not to quit drugs, but in search of a psychedelic experience. What happened shocked him. After the trip ended, he realized his cravings for heroin were gone. His withdrawal symptoms, normally agonizing, were virtually erased. Lotsoff dedicated the rest of his life to spreading the word. Ibogaine, he believed, could break the chains of addiction. Today, researchers are beginning to understand why. Ibogaine interacts with multiple systems in the brain: the opioid receptors, dopamine, serotonin, and memory pathways. One theory is that it resets the brain's reward circuitry, easing cravings and withdrawal. Another is that it allows people to process past traumas in a deep, introspective state. Stories of recovery are striking. People addicted to heroin, cocaine, or alcohol report feeling free of physical dependence after a single session. But Ibogaine is not without danger. It can affect the heart, the liver, and even lead to death if not administered under strict medical supervision. It remains illegal in most countries, including the United States. Yet, despite these risks, Ibogaine's potential has not gone unnoticed. In 2025, Texas made headlines. Former Governor Rick Perry, a man not known for embracing recreational drugs, championed legislation that legalized Ibogaine for clinical research and treatment of veterans suffering from PTSD and addiction. Perry's interest was personal. Working with veterans, he saw firsthand the limits of conventional therapies. Many were traveling abroad, seeking treatments that were illegal at home. He learned about Ibogaine and its promise, a psychedelic plant capable of helping reset the brain and ease the invisible wounds of war. Determined to bring this treatment safely to Texas, Perry helped push through legislation allocating $50 million for clinical trials. Reports suggest Perry himself experienced Ibogaine therapy in Mexico, finding it transformative, fueling his drive for safe access in the United States. Even Joe Rogan's friends took this miracle drug outside the United States, and what he reveals next will surprise you.
That's incredible.
They were going, most people were going, my friend Ed Clay did it down in Mexico, and he even had a place that he was running down in Mexico because you couldn't do it in America because it's illegal here.
Ibogaine is one alkaloid, and it bonds to the opiate receptor, blocks 100% of opiate withdrawals.
Oh, wow.
The newer, like the fentanyl, the synthetics, it works differently. There's different protocols now that I'm not familiar with, but short-lasting opiates like heroin, OxyContin. Like, I've never seen Ibogaine not work on the withdrawal. Like, you can take somebody doing 3 grams of heroin a day for 10 years and give them Ibogaine, and they might have a little leg twitch, but they're not going to experience withdrawal with it. And it's about a 24 to 36 hour trip. It's extremely strong medicine, very introspective. Doing a deep dive, inside yourself. I actually had an African guide my first time. Big fat dude, really joyous, type person. But it took me through, gosh, it was really rough for me the first time. Yeah, but it's like a movie of my life. Like, you're 4 years old and your dad says something to you and you realize you might be this way because of that. And you're 6 and you have something that you completely forgot. Someone was mean to you and it taught you that you're not good enough for whatever. There's lots of that. I went there for opiate addiction. So I was training professional fighters, and I threw a Thai kick and tore my LCL, PCL, meniscus. We had team doctors that gave us prescription pain pills. And so I was on them for about 2 years, and I went to quit one day, went through withdrawal. And over the next 6-month period or so, I tried multiple times to quit, and the withdrawal got me every time. So I went to a therapist and I said, hey, I'm completely functional running my companies, but I'd rather have a clear brain and deal with the pain than a foggy brain and no pain.
Right.
And he said, America's behind the times when it comes to opiate withdrawal. Google Ibogaine. And so I Google Ibogaine, and it's illegal in America. It's legal in Mexico. And so I was skeptical, though. I was like, man, that sounds weird. Watched a couple documentaries. It's like, you know what? I believe those people. You know what? You know how you can tell when people are, at least I believe them. Right. I'm gonna give it a shot. So I took a plane to Mexico City, took a bus a couple hours south to a place called Tepoztlan, Mexico. It's a very, very spiritual town. There was a place called Iboga Quest. Basically it was like a little compound. I did an Ibogaine in one of the bedrooms, basically. Really? And I had a deeply introspective. It scared the shit out of me. I realized my biggest fear was my mom and dad were going to die without knowing how much that I loved them. Wow. I remember calling my mom, like bawling. I was in the middle of it. You weren't supposed to have your phone on last time. I was like, right. I just wanted to tell her how much I loved her, and that was a bonding experience, and my dad. It was a bonding experience that I am so grateful for.
But it literally stops the train of addiction dead in its tracks. They don't totally understand how it does it, but it's very effective. I know a lot of veterans who've had.
So they've talked about the neuroplasticity of drugs like that to create new pathways instantaneously.
Yeah.
Like
I'd like to say those words, but I don't really know what they mean. You know what I mean? When I say them, I'm just faking. I know that's how you're supposed to say it, so I'll say it, but respectfully, I don't know what the fuck's going on in your brain.
Neuroplasticity or something.
What I do know is my friends that I know that have gone and done the Ibogaine, it's been massively effective.
Wow.
Get them off drugs, get them off drinking.
Wow.
Get them, they just change their perspective. They go, okay, I get it now. They just realized where they were tripping over their own, like what they were doing wrong.
That's incredible.
Yeah, quick. I mean, what else is like that? Where like 24 hours later, you can get a totally new perspective in life and be cured of addiction. And somehow or another, that's illegal. That's illegal, but the stuff that they're addicted to is not.
Oh my God, that's like, that's bizarro land, right? Oh my God.
Total bizarro world. Again, kudos to Governor Rick Perry, because what he's done is like open the doorway to right-wing leaning people going, oh, maybe we shouldn't dismiss all these things that God put here on earth.
Oh my God.
Maybe some of these things are actually here to heal your brain, and we're ignoring them because you can't patent them. That might be the thing too. Not saying there's anything wrong with pharmaceutical drugs,
right.
But I'm saying that this also might cure you, and it's relatively it's a plan.
But if Ibogaine holds so much promise, why is it still banned across the United States? The official answer is safety. Ibogaine is powerful, unpredictable, and can be dangerous without medical oversight. It stresses the heart, prolongs the QT interval, and has been linked to sudden deaths in unmonitored settings. Even small miscalculations in dosage or pre-existing conditions can turn a treatment into a life-threatening situation. Regulators argue that until large, controlled trials prove it can be given safely, it cannot be approved as medicine. But critics point to another reason: money. Ibogaine is a natural compound. It can't be patented in its raw form. That means pharmaceutical companies see little financial incentive to spend millions running the trials needed for FDA approval. Why invest in a cure you can't control? This has fueled suspicions, even by Joe Rogan himself, that Ibogaine's illegality isn't just about safety, but about protecting profits. After all, addiction is a multi-billion-dollar industry, from methadone and Suboxone to antidepressants and rehab programs. A one-time psychedelic reset threatens this entire business model, potentially undermining years of profit and ongoing treatment dependency. So Ibogaine sits in legal limbo, hailed by some as a miracle, condemned by others as a hazard, and caught in the crossfire between science, safety, and profit. In the United States, the only legal way to access Ibogaine is through a clinical trial, but those are rare and highly limited. For that reason, most people seeking treatment travel abroad. Today, Ibogaine clinics operate openly in Mexico, Costa Rica, Brazil, South Africa, and New Zealand, drawing thousands of Americans every year in search of a reset. What do you think? Is Ibogaine too dangerous, or is it being kept illegal for the wrong reasons? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and take care.